Hey everyone, Liz Campbell here from Dynamic Intention with Be the Cake, which I'm doing live this week because I made the decision at the weekend that I was going to be doing live streams throughout this week across my various different social media channels to work specifically on this subject because it's obviously needed by everyone who is going to see this. So, basically, obviously it can't be lost on you what's been going on in the world, and the fact that things have reached breaking point in terms of the old systems. And really truly, when I look at this stuff, I will say right now that we like to point fingers at everyone around us, but the bottom line of everything is that we are all managing to co-create this as an ongoing thing, and therefore we are all responsible for dismantling it in the ways that actually resonate with us. Okay, so me doing this kind of work, basically, it just makes sense to me, for me, like my contribution towards this, to be coming on here and actually offering this to YouTube, whoever stumbles across it, whoever's actually looking for some help with this subject. I did a Facebook live stream on this last night on my personal profile on there, and I was musing on quite a few different things. What I want to do, actually, before I go any further, is say, if you can get yourself sort of comfortable, we're actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch into doing the energy work in the background, basically, whilst I'm just talking about whatever the fuck wants to come out of my mouth around this subject. Okay, this is very, very, very similar to how it is when I work with clients, when I do one-to-one sessions with people. I'll do the energy work in the background and they talk and I listen most of the time, and then I'll offer insights and stuff. Obviously, you can't talk to me in the same way because of the format of this. But essentially, if you're ready, basically, it's going to start now. And I always feel when I start this, basically what we're doing is we are dissolving internal structures and systems and the energy that's supporting them and coming from them, basically, that are supporting and creating the experience, whether you know it or not, of unconscious bias and prejudice, particularly racial prejudice. So basically anything that's upholding racism within society, you can't spend your time saying that you're not creating it, because if you're observing it, you are co-creating it. It's as simple as that. If you're observing it, you're co-creating it. And therefore, it is up to you to do your bit. It's up to all of us individually to do the work on ourselves to actually sort this shit out, basically. That's the way I see it. You may disagree with me. You feel free to. Simple fact of the matter is, you're not going to change my mind about this particular subject. It is necessary for us all to take responsibility for what we see going on in the world that disturbs us so greatly. We are all, if you understand how connected we are, if you understand, the fact that we carry around our ancestral stuff, there's stuff down through the line of ancestors that comes through in your DNA and RNA and all the rest of it. We carry all of our conditioning from our childhood upwards. We carry stuff from past lifetimes and so on and so forth. So we're going through all the layers and all the levels with all of this stuff. You may find that the integration of this is quite gnarly. So do be prepared for that. Okay. But just allowing yourself to receive this. And one of the things that's going into this is the magic of equality. As I was saying to my crew, my friends on Facebook who are on the live stream I did on there last night. This one's, the magic of equality is quite a gnarly integration on this one, because as you're integrating it, what will happen is the lifetimes and the ancestral connections and all the rest of it, where equality hasn't been the standard, will come up into your consciousness as this stuff is clearing through, dissolving and leaving, and you will have awareness of it. Now, you're going to find that some of this can be quite emotional, in terms of the realizations that you have. The best thing to do is to observe it and to take note of what you are becoming aware of that you weren't aware of previously as it leaves. Know that it is actually clearing out, but actually understand that your understanding as it comes up, as it's leaving, is actually going to help you to literally consciously make better choices, different choices in terms of the way that you interact with people, rather than ones that are based on unconscious shit that you've just picked up along the way, that you have had a blithe ignorance of, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, it really is about kind of pulling apart where we have been perpetuating in any way, shape, or form the creation of a system that is based on inequality, on injustice, on inferiority, superiority, basically all of these things that are actually rolled into this system that we see is essentially trying to collapse around our ears, and there are people who are very uncomfortable with the idea of it collapsing. The old systems that were based on slavery and based on exploitation and all the rest of it, essentially, these things cannot carry on. Like, it is front and center now in terms of not just public attention, but individual attention, of actually having the understanding of where you've perpetuated stuff, where you've stood by and been silent, so on and so forth. And speaking to one of my friends, speaking to one of my friends before stuff actually started getting really gnarly, and this is a dear old friend of mine I've been mates with for about 16 years now, and I was actually just saying last night that I've been aware of her struggles as highly successful, highly intelligent Black woman who has been always incredibly committed and dedicated to her art. She's a writer. She's worked in TV production. She's basically been involved in the arts for a very, very long time. But actually, I've had awareness since we first became friends of how much discrimination and racism she has been subjected to on a daily basis throughout her life, no doubt. But throughout the time I've known her, it's been marked, and starting with when I first got to know her. And she has told me stories all the way through of what it's like to be her, in terms of like just the standard experiences of going to work and being treated like you must be the tea lady or the cleaning lady because of the colour of your skin, even though you're actually running a department that's underfunded by the corporation that you're running it for, because they don't want to spend money to get you help, so they overwork you. So exploitation in that view, being treated badly by colleagues, being treated badly by the people that she worked for, having to fight for pay rises, having to fight for actually to get any kind of assistance so that she wouldn't work herself into the ground doing the work that she was doing, which she was incredibly good at and she loved, but at one point she was signed off sick with exhaustion. All sorts of things. And I've spent probably about the past most of the time that I've known her wondering really what I could do to help change things. Because when you're friends with someone and they tell you about these things all the time and you have awareness of them, the first thing you do is say to yourself, is there anything that I can do myself other than not being a cunt, obviously, that would actually help to change this situation? And when you're in the face of kind of big corporations and all the rest of it who are kind of perpetuating this stuff, it seems a little bit hopeless. And I know that we can look around and kind of feel that there's not a huge amount of hope to be able to make change in the world. We are now at a point where we're seeing and being shown how we can make the changes. And actually, for those of us who've kind of felt this level of frustration that we didn't know what we could do, all the rest of it, like, we're being shown the ways, basically. So you could say it's time to actually take actions. It's time to take actions that are going to actually help to create change in whatever way is going to work for us in terms of, utilizing your own personal skills and abilities. So hence I'm doing these live streams. Um, Thinking about, I'm going to say economic sanctions on companies that are actually run in a racist manner, basically. Boycotting, literally boycotting, hitting people in the pocket when they refuse to change their ways when it comes to this stuff. That's powerful. Okay. And I've talked about this on here a long time ago. When we actually know that companies aren't ethical in the way that they work, aren't ethical in the way that they treat the people that work for them, aren't ethical in the way that they source things, we have the choice to stop spending our money with them. Now, I know it can seem horribly inconvenient in today's world to say that, because there's so many companies that are doing so much shit on the big scale, but you can actually really help things by it's the usual stuff, right? You can really, really help change things by putting your money into small, local, ethical businesses, for starters, rather than supporting massive global conglomerates who have all sorts of shonky working practices, and they're racist, and they're a lot of them are actually operating modern day slavery with the sweatshops that they run in other countries, where they've deliberately set up shops so that they can basically manufacture their goods and not pay people properly for the manufacture of those goods, in order to keep costs down, in order to satisfy this endless consumption overdrive that we all seem to be on a lot of the time. Okay. It's about choosing wisely. It's about getting consciously engaged in the decisions you're making about what you're buying, clothing, food, all the rest of it. All of this stuff is interconnected. There's one thing I do keep thinking, actually, to myself, and the way that I see things. Now, you might not have given this much thought, but there's a huge, as I see it, connection between the fact that racism is still absolutely endemic in the system, and slavery still exists in different formats the way that it did, and the fact that our planet is basically being raped, looted, and pillaged left, right, and center for its resources by people who literally don't give a shit. I'll say right now, the smartphone that I'm holding, it's an iPhone. I would have quite happily kept hold of it. Basically, my last phone literally blew up when I was working with a client about I'm just trying to think how long ago it was. It was about a year and a half ago, just over. So I ended up having to upgrade. I'd actually been holding off getting an upgrade because I have awareness of the fact that the coltan that goes into phone batteries, and a lot of the materials that go into making mobile phones, including iPhones, it's actually all sourced through the exploitation of kids in the Congo, in Nigeria. Basically, they send them down these mines to mine coltan, which is highly radioactive, by the way. And you've got kids as young as 5, 6 who are ending up with leukemia, and they're being paid pence so that we can have smartphones. I think there's a lot to unpack and a lot to think about from the point of view of understanding just exactly how massive the changes are that we need to affect on this planet if we're going to really, if we're going to really actually look at making life better for everybody, and actually coming into a state where we live in a state of something approaching equality with each other. But with all of these things, there's everything has a starting point, right? Maybe this is your starting point for you. Maybe your starting point happened a while ago. Maybe you're going to turn this off and you're not prepared to actually meet your starting point yet. But I think essentially it's time for all of us to really fucking start looking hard at what we're supporting with how we spend our money and the things that we choose for ourselves. Yeah, I think it really is that simple. I'm going to just check in now to see, because I stopped feeling that running for me. I only feel the beginning of these things. Right, it's still running, yes. There you go, saying that's new. 10 minutes. No, I'm getting another 10 minutes on that. I was literally hearing 10 minutes. So this is going to run for another 10 minutes. It may still be running for you when I actually finish this, but you don't need to worry about that. It's basically, once it's started, it will run until it's done. It doesn't matter if you, wouldn't actually matter if you walked away now and went to do something else. You might not want to, though, depending on kind of how strong it's coming in. And this is going through all parts of you. Okay, so understanding that. And understanding that, I will just drop in right now, because his work is powerful. You're going to have probably a couple of days of feeling a little bit all over the place. One of my friends who watched the video I did last night, she turned around to me today and said she had like really weird dreams last night, and I was just like, yeah, you're processing. She said she woke up shouting and waving her arms around. There is the stuff that will come up will be quite big, so be prepared for weird dreams. Be prepared for feeling a little bit emotionally wobbly. Be prepared for the fact you might want to sleep more than normal. Just allow all of that. You know, listen to your body, drink plenty of water, eat the foods you need to eat in terms of like making sure that you're getting the right nutrition, sleep as much as you need to. Okay, and if you're feeling a little bit wobbly, have a cry. There's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to crying, you know, just let it all out. Get yourself a big box of tissues, have a saltwater bath, bawl your eyes out, let it out, because you will actually integrate quicker. The more that you actually allow yourself to feel the emotions as they come up, the quicker you're going to integrate. Okay. That's without getting stuck into overthinking any of it. Just allow them to flow through you, because as you allow them to flow through you, everything clears out so much faster. Anyhow, I could go quiet for a bit and let you just experience this without me interjecting at all. Right, I've actually just done something to speed this up. Right, yeah, okay. I'll take another couple of minutes. Cut the time down so that you don't have to deal with this. But like I said, it will probably knock you out because of the fact of just speeding it up. This. Ooh, yeah, I just felt a vroom. It might feel a little bit like you're on some kind of crazy roller coaster that just went through a tunnel. Nothing to worry about. You get the relief afterwards of being able to just lie down and breathe. Right, okay. Is that done? That's done. Yeah, that's done. I will be back with other videos, but that's this one done. Yeah, like I said, it's a good idea for you to sit once all of this is integrated, just you can meditate and just sit and like close your eyes and just ask yourself, what can I do? What actions can I take that will help to actually change the system in a manner that's peaceful and enjoyable and non-violent, basically. Because you certainly don't need to add to the violence. There's a lot you can do very powerfully without adding to any violence, if that makes any sense. It's like, I kind of look at it as like, sometimes violence happens because of people's frustrations and all the rest of it, and that's completely understandable. I completely understand why the protests have turned into riots and so on and so forth. But it's important to understand that you don't need to add to the violence as part of what you're doing to help stuff out, if that makes any sense. So it's like, what intentions can you set when you're going into, say, if you go to one of the protests, what intentions can you set before you go that will actually help things to run smoothly, like taking the stance of being conscious about the way that your energy is adding to and helping to direct what happens. Things like that. Okay. Right, I'm sending you all lots of love. Mwah. Bye for now. I'll see you next time for something else.